This is my girlfriend's 944 and it's got one major problem. There's lights on the front, but not at the top of the roof rack. And today, I'm gonna try to fix that. So what I got here is two of these Hella 500 FF driving lamp kits. So it includes two halogen driving lights, two bulbs, two mounting brackets, a relay, two stone shields, a wiring harness, and the switch and mounting instructions. Gotta get the kit. Now what I'm gonna drill into is gonna be this wind fairing thing that came with the roof rack that we got for her. See, this is the stock hardware, which I might have to replace with nut and bolt setup so that it can handle the extra weight of the lights, but figure that out in a moment. Being as I'm gonna need a work surface, and just like that, we have a work surface. Before we actually get to the lights, what I want to do is measure out the mounting points, which should be pretty simple. Measure this out. The lights are 6 inches in diameter. Obviously the mounting point for the bracket is going to be dead center of the lamp. So we just have to measure out evenly where to mount the 4 lights. So I'm going to start doing that. So the width is 27.5 inches. The height is roughly 5. Merci. What's half of 27.5? 13.75, right? That's the center. What's half of 13.75? Is it like 6 and change? So I found the center point, which is obviously 13.75 inches. I got dead center. Now I'm gonna split this wind fairing into quadrants and find the center of each quadrant to then start drilling the holes. All right, Google, what's half of 6 7/8? That's gonna be my first hole. 3 7/16 right there. All right, we got our center points. Time to drill. I'm gonna start with a 1/4 inch bit as a pilot hole. Always remember to drill on wood. Silly me, I have a pilot hole punch. Now I can drill. Holes are ready. Now let's just look at the bracket on the lamp and make sure it's the right size. Each lamp gets one of these baggies, and this is what holds the lamp to the bracket and the bracket to whatever you're mounting it to. So I think it's safe to assume this is the bolt that goes into your mounting position. And as I thought, way too big for the holes I made, so I gotta enlarge these holes. We're gonna do it with a 3/8 drill bit. Test it. Ah, so close. That's a perfect fit. Let's see how this will work. Bracket, bolt goes in from the front. Notice how it's got the square head, so it stays in that bracket. On the back is a lock washer, and then the nut. So now I just have to repeat that process 3 more times, and then it's ready to mount. Got all these brackets on. Now it's just time to tighten everything down.
Tomorrow.
Back for another day. We got quite rained out yesterday, so I had to restart in the morning. In the meantime, I tightened down the brackets all along this wind fairing. This morning, what I'm gonna start doing is mounting the lights, or at least mocking them up to see what the final placement is gonna be like. What I'm thinking also is drilling small holes to run the wires through so it's nice and tucked and tidy. Okay, so something interesting I found. See how that bracket's flat? When it comes out of the box, there's a little bit of an arch on the bottom, which opens up these 2 tabs to allow the light to actually be positioned in there. I imagine when I tightened it down on the backside that it closed up this bracket, which is good. It secures the light in its position, its final position. Obviously right now I'm just trying to mock it up, so I gotta loosen these again to mock up the lights, to then tighten this back up, and then we'll go from there. In the meantime, I think what I will do is drill out little holes for the wires, like I said. I'll tighten down the main bolt for the bracket in a moment, but right now what I'm going to do is tighten down the actual light to the bracket itself before I tighten the bracket to the fairing. And that requires a shallow socket 13 mil. with an extension. This isn't the final position. This is just to tighten everything so there's less jiggling going on. And obviously once they're on the car is when you can do final tweaks and positioning. 17mm deep socket. Oh, that one I never loosened. Good. Badass. We're gonna keep the covers on the lights for now so we don't scratch them up. In the meantime, what I want to do is start connecting the wiring on the back. So I've already ran these two inner lights. I'm gonna run those together from one switch. And the outer ones, they're gonna go from another switch. Only problem I'm facing is that these wires are slightly too short to reach. But that's fine. I got some extra wire inside the house. I'll go get that momentarily. 5 inches of wire. Then I'll just splice into the middle of these two. Got some heat shrink. Let's go test it out on the car. Essentially, that's gonna be the fitment. I honestly guessed the angle of the lights pretty damn well too. Look at this profile, come here. The boy's smart. You're dating a smart boy.
She knows.
I'm happy with that, and what's cool is actually these wires are gonna be perfectly underneath this bar. Now, my only concern is that I might need to drill through this top bar of the roof rack and do a nut and bolt setup. I don't know that those little screws are gonna hold everything. Nonetheless, that looks pretty good. We have a whole hot mess of wires here, but we're gonna start sorting through. Let's go under the hood real quick and see if we could mount these up real quick and then start wiring to the battery and then ultimately to the lights and then the switch inside the car. I'm kind of a noob at relays and whatnot. Fortunately, this car already came with 4 Hellas on the front. So as you can see, it makes it kind of simpler for me to like, oh, where do I mount the relays? Where do the blue wires and the red wires go? Well, fortunately, Peter Kaczynski, he's got these 2 relays for the 2 sets of lights right here. 2 inner ones on one switch, 2 outer ones on the other. We're gonna do the same thing along the roof rack. I'm gonna loosen that up and try to fit those other relays in there. Basically just copy this wiring. It's a deep socket 10. So check this out. This stud right here is quite long, so I might honestly be able to fit both of these relays on there. I don't see why not. Peter, the previous owner, he drilled out these holes to be a little bigger to fit over that stud, so I'm gonna do that now real quick. Should be big enough. Okay, look at that. All the relays fit. Fantastical. Let's not lose this 10mm. See that, babe? Russian engineering. Now, I'm gonna loosen the ground terminal, mount these guys up to it. I bet you I got the right size. Now we have this hot ass mess here to take care of. So all this is gonna get tucked under this weather strip. So ultimately, the blue wire coming from the relay, that's for the ground. Red wire coming from the relay goes to these 2 fuses here. Goes to the positive terminal of the battery. So we'll loosen that. Okay, our fuses are wired up. Tuck those guys down here. All this wire, even a stick. I believe this would just go to the lights. Oh, but there's also a green wire. These are the 2 switches, these 2 extra wires. I believe these are for the actual switch because there's 2 methods of wiring these. You can either wire them up to be your main headlights or to be auxiliary lights, which is what we're doing. Another set of fuses here. Let me read the instructions and figure out what the hell these wires are for, but I'm pretty sure these blue wires are gonna be to ground the switch, and this is gonna run directly to powering the actual lights themselves. All right, real quick before I run all the wires, we'll look in the car, see where we can mount the switches. You can see we already got these 2 here, so I'm not really sure. I could drill in your ashtray. Yeah, maybe I'll do the ashtray. Pull it right off, and it comes apart. So we're gonna drill into that. Oh, also a good place for your air tag. So I'm hopeful that being as these 2 switches are wired up here, there's clearly power somewhere. I'm hoping to figure that out and splice into that power to power up our new switches for the top lights. Next course of action for now, I'm gonna put these switches into this ashtray because Shirley's not a smoker, so we're gonna utilize this door right here as the bracket for the switches. First I'm gonna make some pilot holes and then I'll drill out with some step drill bits. See that snug fit? Now remember, you can always cut more, but you can't cut less. Oh, that hit my eyelid. Actually holds pretty well. Oh, that's dope. All right, well now we gotta finish up that wiring, so I'll figure it out. So it's my understanding that they're not really telling you a way to like connect it separately from the headlamps, but that's what I'm trying to do. Maybe I'll just run the positive and negatives directly to the lights. Then no, how do you switch them on? I don't know, I'm gonna figure this out.
One eternity later.
They do work. Put it to accessories, turn the lights on, the headlights, and then we flip the two switches. Hey, they obviously look very dim right now because it's daylight, but so here's what I did. So I didn't realize that the blue on the lights is not a positive lead. That is a ground. I didn't realize I was supposed to connect those two blues to the ground directly to the chassis. I mean, I knew it goes to the chassis. That's what a ground does, the negative. However, I didn't know it was the blue wire that was it. There's only a black and a blue wire that comes off of the lights. You would expect it to be a positive and negative. It's not. I finally figured that out. I got all the wires dangling here, very messy. So what I'm about to do is clean all that up, but basically the way I wired it up, I'll explain real quick. I ran the wires down past the fender over here, under here, through this trim piece on the side, and then it pops up under here to this, what used to be a cigarette lighter. And I spliced directly into the power that goes to this little interior light for the ashtray. Now obviously it's not being used, so that's where we get the power. Now the challenge is gonna be trying to get this thing to stick. I don't know if it's gonna work without the actual ashtray. We'll see about that. But it does look very clean. Let's get to organization. The last of it is just tucking up all these wires under here. That's pretty much done. All right, so just like that,
We got 10 lights.
we have 10 lights on this car as working headlights. We have 8 lights and then 2 headlights, but these Hellas are driving lights, as are those up top, so essentially it's 10 headlights. And quite frankly, this is an old car, so these Hellas are probably as bright, if not brighter, than the regular headlights, so. What about the center lights? Wow. That's so bright.